would now like to welcome our panelists for our second session, which is on the future of nature tourism. The panelists will delve deep into emerging trends, challenges, and opportunities shaping the industry. Thought leaders will discuss importance of growing nature tourism and its scope to manage climate crisis and biodiversity conservation. Key topics include the role of technology, policy frameworks, and shifting traveler expectations. This session aims to inspire a roadmap for a greener, more inclusive tourism. I would now like to invite our panelists onto the stage. Please welcome with me Mr. Rohit Varma, founder, Nature in Focus. Mr. Pratap Singh, director, Mela Kothi, Chambal Safari Lodge. Mr. Roopesh Rai, founder and CEO, Bakri Chhap Agro Tourism. This is such an interesting name. Mr. Anurag Sharma, founder, Tigerwalah and Indian Wildlife Safaris. Ms. Sowmya Rao Vijaymohan, who is also moderating this panel discussion. She's the founder and director, Très India. I welcome you all. Thank you so much for your time. As always, I'm going to pester you for time. Please try to, you have half an hour. So thank you so much.
Good evening. Welcome to a session that promises to be insightful and thought-provoking on the future of nature tourism in India. As a part of the introduction, I'm expected to draw out parameters on nature tourism, which is a really difficult task to do. I just think nature tourism is like this one large potluck dinner that is happening. It could be a leisurely walk in the park with chai in your hand. It could be like a excruciating trek or a hike up in the Himalayas where you're wondering if your legs are ever going to forgive you. It could be a series of visits into the wildlife parks. It could be just one safari in a culture-filled trip to India. It could be academically led, interest-based to just knock off one forest or lake that you want to see. And then, not to forget, we have, how it also involves larger issues like climate control, conservation, ecosystems, local communities, and also the popular rising trend of eco-friendly travel trends like zero-waste holidays, which I honestly, I'm really gung-ho about. Till the time I have to, get down to packing and I'm scrambling to look for compostable shampoos, for instance. Till then, everything is fine. But the basket of topics to discuss here is really large. But I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind today that nature tourism has the potential to play a very transformative role. In 2023 itself, nature tourism has contributed over $216 billion to the global economy. And it's pretty clear that travelers are now looking at or are seeking meaningful connections with nature. But with this kind of power and growth, as you may have heard earlier, comes a lot of responsibilities to ensure that our ecosystem, wildlife, communities are not just protected and preserved, but are also empowered to thrive without disrupting them in their original form as well. So it's really tricky. Now to navigate this really vast landscape, we have a stellar of panel experts with us who are not only leading the way in nature tourism, but are also paving the path for sustainable solutions, which is, I think, what is important and what we need to look ahead at. Today we'll be discussing people who've done some great work with regards to some innovative projects on conservation. We'll be talking about how visual imagery plays such a powerful role in kind of in the perception of for people. We'll be discussing how sustainable wildlife practices are important. On this note, I'd like to quickly introduce our panelists. We have Ram Pratap, who's been pioneering sustainable tourism initiatives in Chambal. You just heard he and Anu have a property called Mela Kothi Chambal Safari Lodge. He's also the founder of Indian School of Nature. And I know many a times he's been at the intersection of tourism and conservation. We also have Anurag here, who's founder of Tigerwalah and Indian Wildlife Safaris, who's dedicated to providing wildlife experiences that prioritize conservation. And I know you're very, very passionate and vocal about how your travelers behave, and how important it is for them to be mindful of the impact that they leave behind. And then we have Roopesh, who has a background in Taj Safari Lodges, is what I got to know, but a real trailblazer in community-led tourism. His initiatives like the Goat Village, Women Village, and the Green Gorilla have been, you've been working with, he's been empowering local communities and also promoting regenerative tourism. And Rohit, you're one of the founders of Nature InFocus, a platform that uses photography and film to tell stories of India's wilderness and also creating awareness on conservation and protection of wildlife. To begin with, I'm going to quickly dive into questions I'll begin with RP. RP, you've been in the forefront of promoting sustainability through various initiatives like your Indian School of Nature. You've also been part of organizing the UP Tourism Bird Fair. In your experience, what are the most critical pathways for nature tourism to thrive in India?
Future of nature tourism. Is there a future? What we are doing in the present will decide the future. And what are we doing in the present? Doing everything that is possible within our realm to destroy our future. Sustainability in tourism is much talked about, in nature space even a lot more. But I would say, I'm sad to say that there's a lot of greenwashing going around. There is no empirical data to define what is sustainable. My sustainability varies from your definition, from your. So what we're trying to do at Indian School of Nature is to give sustainability a measurable dimension and empirical number. And if you go on to isn.foundation website under Travel Sustainable, you will get to a tab called Carbon Balance Sheet. And each of the lodge owners here, or each of the travel companies here, can quickly put in some very simple numbers to arrive at their carbon sequestration, oblique emissions, etc. Similarly for water, similarly for the chemicals that you're using. And this is no rocket science. Everything can be done. We've experimented and done it at Chambal. And it is there on a free-to-use knowledge platform for everybody to start using. And also, so 5 pillars of sustainability to my mind. Air, which is measurable by carbon, water, chemicals, and then 4th is community. We all say we work with the communities. I have devised a balance sheet driven method where you can actually calculate what percentage of your revenue goes back to the community. Otherwise, it's all greenwashing that we all work with the community. And as recent as last year, I was in Bandhavgarh, and there is such a huge difference in the moment you step out of your lodge. Your lodge is an island of excellence. To quote from Amartya Sen, islands of excellence surrounded by landscapes of sub-Saharan Africa. You're going for your morning safari, look into the eyes of that village guy next. What does he get benefit from the tourism that you are managing in his or her landscape? So there are solutions and solutions. If we all get together, definitely there are solutions, and there are pathways and milestones, and there are signposts to lead you to those milestones.
RP, would you, I just want to ask, so the thing that you have right now, this whole calculation bit is free for everybody to use, like the lodge owners to use?
Yes, in fact, we started conducting workshops. First one was in Bandhavgarh, where we got about 29 lodges to participate, and we handhold them towards till the end, where they start. And also, let me give you the global timelines. By 2030, 6 years from now, if all the lodges do not start reporting as per the global standards, the EU will stop sending their guests to those destinations and those lodges. by 2036, not only reporting, but also complying with the global standards being set up in COP28 and 29 will become mandatory for all of us. So it's for us to start working now rather than wait for the last year.
Absolutely. Since RP touched upon communities and greenwashing, I'm going to speak to you, Roopesh. Your work with rural communities or local communities rather, whether through the goat village, it's been really transformative actually. But could you talk to us about, what are the methods or, unconventional methods that need to be adopted or introduced to actually get communities more involved and empowered? And my second question to you is, are the local community willing to be more involved in the first place? We are assuming that, and we are saying that they need to be empowered and they need to be involved. Are they keen to be a part of this?
Well, I will answer the last leg of your question first. So the destinations which are already visible, there the community is willing to involve. But the destinations which are yet virgin or yet to be discovered, there you have to do the ice breaking with community. And to do the ice breaking with community, you have to reinstate the, reinstate the faith of their own age-old traditions and crafts. So for example, a lot of people, when they arrive into these grassroots ecosystems on their parachute, mostly an uber urban going and trying to set up a shop in, God-forsaken rural, then they try to kind of, give them motivations which are more kind of tailored to their needs. So you need to sort of, to get on their level. So for example, a lot of people will go and they will do a drive of organic certification. But a micro marginalized and small farmer, he does not have enough money to buy poison to suicide. He will not have enough money to, buy urea and pesticide and herbicide. So instead of telling them that, go for organic certification, you go and tell them that whatever you are growing traditionally, we will give you a market support. So this is one way of, figuring out what are their, motivation. You need to decode their motivation. And 70%, there are 6.5 lakhs, some, broad numbers I would like to share. So I'm talking about rural India, I'm talking about bottom of the pyramid, more than 500,000, 0.65 million villages precisely in India. The micro marginalized farmers who are living in these villages, they are 140 million, 14 crores in numbers. Out of that, 5 crores are extremely marginalized. Now these marginalized people are last remaining custodian of your jal, jangal, jameen, your clean air, clean soil, or clean whatever, forest cover. But they will always look upward. For them, plastic is cool. For them, automobile is, sign of progress, or concrete house or steel is like, sign of progression. But so you really need to go to them. People who are sitting on top of the pyramid, they are the one 200 years ago, 300 years ago, they told that these things are cool. Now they have scaled up. This has become from aspiration to this has become, commodity. Now bottom of the pyramid is using it in large number. For them, still it is time for them. Now they are getting disposable money. So they want to follow that trend. Now what you can do, the people who are sitting on top of the pyramid, they need to come, they need to enact, they need to do some theater to make these grassroots communities believe that your life is cool and your life is sexy. Your millet is good. Go into their home. So sometimes, like, we were talking about, someone said, Manav said, and Soiti kind of, summarized it well. She said that, that invisible housekeeping guy. I will go further and I'll tell that you cannot succeed in this politically charged bottom of the pyramid community unless you, you go and create some kind of, business enterprise with them. So instead of thinking of creating managers or, building, creating employees, or just mere vendors. Think of creating micro entrepreneurs. That's how you can yourself, politically insulate, because every good work eventually, visionless local politicians, this challenge will come. I think I'm answering your third question, little beforehand. So, so you need to, or somebody said storytelling, like Joe's CGS Earth, Michael emphasized on that storytelling. It's a very critical aspect. But you need to figure out some social engineering method, not in social engineering, not in IT or banking parlance, but real social parlance. So you need to find out a method to do the storytelling first with local communities. If you succeed in doing storytelling with local communities, then you don't have your guest part of storytelling will happen in autopilot mode. So I think before I digress further, you can probably bring me back on the core point.
Okay. No, but you had also spoken to me about role models, how local communities need role models.
Yeah, so role model is one aspect, and also one important thing I forgot. Events are very good method of reaching out to community, breaking ice with them, and making them feel that their song, dance, their costumes, their food is cool. Okay. For example, we did something like Bakri Swayambar. So we learned that Pashu Palan Vibhag has spent 550 crores in last 12 years of Uttarakhand to make people get associated, the new generation to adopt, livestock rearing and cattle rearing. But they didn't succeed because they were not finding it, very sort of dignified, higher this altitude, lower the self-esteem. So then we did something called Bakri Swayambar. So if you try to tell the same thing in a very moral lecture format, in a black and white format, in a NGO format, it won't work. You have to make it a very sort of, kind of something which can be probably insanely offbeat. Few things may work, few may not work. So when we kept the name of the goats, Deepika, Katrina, Priyanka, and Alia, Shraddha, Kangna, and we did a theme called Dilwale Bakriyan Le Jayenge. And when we said, organic ka baap Bakri Chhap, then they felt that, okay, it's some kind of movement. So through event, you can launch, it could be a launching pad for some kind of movement. Through movement, you can make your community पायदान पे खड़े हुए आखिरी व्यक्ति को आप स्टोरी टेलर बना सकते हैं.
Thank you so much. Moving on from storytelling, I think I'll speak to you, Rohit, because your TEDx talk on half a flush to save the tiger highlighted the power of storytelling and in raising awareness about conservation. How do you think visual storytelling, particularly through photography and film, can play a transformative role in promoting sustainable, responsible nature tourism, conservation, etc.? Love to know what you've done and how it's working out. I know your festival is really, really popular. Please.
Okay, so when it comes to visual storytelling, the critical part, as you just mentioned about it, that who are you doing story for? That is something which is very, very critical. And when we talk about ecotourism, talk about responsible or sustainable tourism, we need to look at there are multiple different parties who are involved in this. And every audience behave in a certain manner. And there is a tonality which will work with different audiences. So when you talk to the communities, you have to talk in their language. That is something which is very important. I now stay very close to Kanha National Park, and I interact with the local communities. If I talk to them in the typical Hindi or English, obviously they won't work with me. They won't even have a conversation with me. I spent a lot of time with one of the Baga Sardars and just trying to understand the kind of problems he has faced, because when 1973 Project Tiger started off, the whole village was literally thrown out from the Kanha National Park. And then he narrates, but he takes time to open up. Now, for the local communities, as you talk about storytelling, you need to see, and they need to have a reason to trust you. If that trust is not there, they won't believe in your story. Okay, so you have to look at, one, how you're able to develop the trust, how you're able to involve them. With regard to us as travelers, because I'm also a traveler, I spend a lot of time, and everybody here, either we are running a lodge or also we are traveling, we need to look at it, how do we really make people understand the importance of the ecotourism? As you just spoke about zero waste, is it practically possible? Now, through the visual storytelling, you can touch upon everything. The good side of the ecotourism, the things which are not happening, every aspect can be touched on. And today, if you look at the way the content has been consumed, it is maximum in a format of video. And that's the reason the films, with regard to these, are really important. The guy who's sitting, like where my home is, in a Kareli village, he doesn't know what the problems are happening in terms of a climate change or a global warming. He doesn't know at all. Neither he cares. For him is the basics, that how much of paddy I'm able to grow, how many cattle I have it, do I have enough money to sustain for the whole year, period. That's it. Their outlook is limited. Now how do you change that? And as he spoke about it, I have seen the bikes in every possible village today in Kana. You will see the bikes. So they are also aspiring. They want to have all these things. It's just about that if we do not put the thought in their mind now, we are actually going for a disaster, where Mr. Ram started from. We are actually going for disaster because they want it, they are doing it, there is a money which is coming in more than what they were earning earlier. And in a way, sorry to say, but yeah, there is a bit of an abuse happening of that money. The guy won't look at anything, but every villager today has got a phone, a smartphone. I'm not talking about a basic phone. They have got bikes. So they are burning fuel. They are using phone. The kids maybe earlier were doing something else. Today, when I go for a walk in the morning, I see the kids sitting on the road and playing video games. It is a problem. Now, technology, you can use it for good or for bad. Now, it is on us to look at how and what we can do. And that's where comes the visual storytelling.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to taking this forward. Anurag, my question is to you. As someone who's deeply involved in wildlife, hospitality, and conservation, and I'm going to take a step back here and adding to everything that everyone's spoken here. You know, and since you're involved with taking guests to various regions or destinations in India, what do you think the future of sustainable tourism destination should look like, you know, in the country? And how can state tourism boards, local stakeholders, whether it's the local communities, how can they all kind of collaborate to create destinations that prioritize sustainability, not just in terms of conservation or environment, but also social sustainability?
Thank you, Sowmya. About the future first, I think for the sake of all of us sitting in this room and people involved with us in tourism and wildlife tourism, I hope the future looks good, and it should look good. As far as how we have transitioned in terms of sustainability, I think we've come a long way. A couple of years back, when I started this journey, you know, transition from my corporate life to wildlife, never heard about sustainability, or sustainability was a fancy word. I jokingly use a term, but it is very relevant, that today sustainability has moved beyond single malts and social media. It is no longer a luxury which you can talk about and feel good saying, yeah, I'll acknowledge it. I'm making an impression on my client talking about sustainability. It is a need. It is a need not only for us to survive as a business, it is a need for human race as a whole. We've already seen the impacts. I don't need to go more into it. The good news is a lot of work is happening. The fact that all of us are sitting under this umbrella of TOFTigers, which also does pug rating for the lodges, and you know, we as tour operators, part of TOFTigers, prefer to use those lodges. There is some buying that it is not only a good thing to have, it is important. The only challenge which I see right now, and we as a country, to be very honest, are a little slow in reacting. So we're moving slowly. The wheel is moving slowly, but we're moving there. The challenge right now is the left hand is not talking to the right hand. I'm sure there's some 100 people sitting here. If we ask individually, what are you doing about sustainability in your own rights? As a tour operator, as a lodge owner, as a transport operator, we all are doing something or the other. The only challenge which comes is that, is it enough? No. A lot of times we expect the government to do something. A lot of times we expect somebody else to do something. You say, hum to chote lodge hain, hum kyun kare? I mean, just for saying, I'm a smaller lodge, I am barely surviving, why should I do it? There are bigger lodges which are making dollars, which are getting guests from abroad, which are making millions and billions. They should be responsible. Is it not my planet? Is it not my business? Will my business not get impacted? I operate in a lot of parks and Ranthambore is my home ground, but yeah, I have guests who said, yeah, it's become noisy, there are weddings, I don't want to go to Ranthambore, can we look at something else? The destination is losing its charm. People are not realizing it. I say it sadly, I run a homestay there, but I tell people that there'll be, in 5 years from now, a lot of sensible guests would prefer to stay away from parks like Ranthambore or Corbett. It has already happened. But good thing is, at the same time, being a tour company which is also called Tigerwalah, and people say tiger tourism is a bad thing, but we are at the first level where we graduate people from the definition of nature lovers going to the jungle and wanting to see a tiger, and then transition them to the next step saying, what can we do? So I am seeing a massive paradigm shift in terms of what guests were expecting before and now. They're looking to experiment and go to lesser known destinations. They're willing to explore places and destinations which are beyond tigers. The main challenge is, are we ready for it? We were at Tadoba a couple of months back and we were talking about at the Tadoba festival, and say we as tour operators and people from travel industries are even ready to support destinations, but is that destination ready? I give an example of Nagzira, Maharashtra Forest Department officials were there saying, I was more than happy to operate groups in Nagzira when nobody was going. Lesser known park, a lot of people still don't know it. It is a fantastic destination for leopards and wild dogs. If you have not been there, I would recommend that you should do it. The first time I operated an Australian group, I had to face a nightmare. The gypsies were in such a bad condition that they broke down, not only once, I think 5 times. They ran out of petrol. Second time I operated a group, never lost heart, took gypsies from Kana, paid double the money to locals who said, Bahar ka gypsy aayega, so we will not allow them, but we paid the money. And this is 6th year running, we still have Nagzira on our itinerary. Things have become better. But if you expect things to change overnight, that's not going to happen. It's a slow phase. So, I'm always positive about it, Sowmya, and I see the future still very bright, and we'll continue to do whatever we do. A lot more is to be done, agreed. But yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. You spoke about Ranthambore and you mentioned Corbett. So I'm going to come to like a little controversial question. When many years back, when Javai just had 1 or 2 properties, there were a lot of, I come from a little bit of a marketing sales background, and I know a lot of the travel companies would say, we won't send our guests there because there are no other properties, it's just 1 or 2 properties. I see that happening with Jagir now as well. There's a lovely property called Jagir Manor, and that's the only, or there are 1 or 2 more properties there. And that's what the agents say. And then all of a sudden in years, we've seen like it's swamped with properties. Do you think, do you think we need, the government or the state or someone needs to de-incentivize these, hoteliers or agents for taking, for this whole over-tourism thing that's happening? What do you think the solution is? Because it's one after the, it's a cat and mouse thing.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question with a very difficult answer. But the challenge is, like I said, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, or we are not working together. Now, this is a classic problem that you have on one hand, revenue department, which is happily selling lands around forests, left, right, center, forward, to make lodges. At the other hand, you have a forest department, for right or wrong reasons, have capped the number of safari vehicles which can go inside the park. I can do another debate on it, and I'm very vociferous that this is the whole idea of 20% is absolutely ridiculous, but this is not the platform. So now you've capped the capacity of 540 people going inside the park, in a park like Ranthambore, in one shift. That means maximum 1,100 people. You have 3,000 room nights.
Sure.
Now, I have built up a lodge there, thinking wildlife tourism is very promising. Wish he could have spoken to people like Manav or me or someone else. He would have known the other side of the story thing. But anyways, he says, now I've guessed, I don't get safari, what will I do? I still have to pay my EMIs or loans or whatever, I will do weddings. But why? Nobody thought about giving permission to another lodge. thinking, yeah, my carrying capacity is only 1100. Why am I giving more than that? So that's the whole challenge.
Yeah, I was coming to you, RP, because I know you will have a few things to contribute to this topic as well as on a larger scale while working with the state tourism boards or policies and stuff. What do you think we should be doing?
Thank you. No, there is a solution. So let's look at the Taraya landscape. And so at the moment, tourism is just beginning. There are 3 lodges, and now before they become 300, we have to have a Tarai Arc destination management plan, which involves the forest department, tourism, revenue, agriculture, irrigation, roads. Everybody has to be, and the agrarian community and the local tribals. They have to be brought on board, and and it has to be a mandated destination management plan. Only then it will work. Otherwise, self-control and checks and balances won't work. And that's possibly the way forward.
But are there any broader guidelines or checks and balances that have been put already?
So most of us won't know here in this platform that Agra as a city has had a tourism management plan since the 80s to protect the Taj Mahal from over-tourism, and by and large, it has worked very successfully. And so there is a model in place where all the departments collaborate and manage tourism. So if it's done in one location, why can't we do it in Tarai? Why can't we do it in some other landscape?
Is this got to do with all the construction around
So
the Taj?
everything gets
Yeah.
regulated. There are green zones. There are, so like in Agra, so you don't see hotels coming up everywhere. There is a certain master plan in place, and same could be done in the forest landscapes also.
Thank you. Rupesh, I'm going to, speak to you a little bit about the, you talk a lot about the difference between degenerative and regenerative tourism. Could you share a little more about how tourism can become regenerative? Can you give us some examples about what you've done, to actively restore ecosystems? Have you seen something like this? Have you worked on something like this? I know your goat village is completely solar powered. It's a plastics free zone. You minimize waste, etc. But when it comes to regenerative tourism, we're going beyond like preserving and protecting. So can you, kind of tell us, throw some light on that?
Well, this is like a, ideal situation to be into. I would not claim that, the goat village has sort of created some benchmark of regenerative, but that's the next level to look forward to. So as far as goat village is like, we try to be as low carbon footprint as possible. You walk for 2 kilometers, then you go to, and just not goat village, but couple of other, villages, brands in the series like the women village, the art village. Now in Chanderi we are doing the stone village. In Maheshwar we are doing the boat village. So everywhere we try to keep it as minimalistic as possible. Smart minimalism is the sort of, the positioning. But how we try to offset that carbon footprint. For example, somebody has done the last leg of 2 kilometers on foot and, ate on some, plant leaf for Instagram. But they have come in their, SUVs, or they have, flown in business class. So how do you offset that? So when they come there, they buy local produce, which is the farmers' local produce. And by doing that, now what has happened, 80% of the valley has returned to traditional crops and traditional ways of growing it. Earlier, 20% were only. So in a way, there is a carbon footprint happening, but it is not about being the best, it is about that being less bad, kind situation.
The lesser of the
Yeah, lesser evil. So the, through tourism, you can give employment to, let's say, 10% of the youth population. More than that, it will spoil the, the carrying capacity issues and, all the associated problems. So how do you justify the remaining 90%? So to generate, so by if these tourists are coming as a, let's say as a guest, but buying the local produce, hyper local produce, and giving some recurring order, then in a way they are contributing to the larger ecosystem. So it's an indirect way. The direct way of measuring your Regenerative tourism could be straight away biodiversity audit. Something on the similar line Mr. Ram was telling. So you do your own biodiversity audit till the time there is some certified body to do your biodiversity audit. And as he said, forest department and other rural development department will have to be, involved into that.
Thank you. Rohit, Nature in Focus has like this fabulous bank of pictures and films, and I think you also have a great data bank of people who are already inclined towards nature, wildlife, wilderness, all of that. Now, this is a question that I wanted to figure is, and I know you mentioned you've moved to Kanha. I just wanted to know something like this, and the festival that you do, is it a little elitist? Are you all doing something that is where you're working with at the more grassroots levels with schools? It could be schools here, because I think the kids are the future, right? Are you all doing something on that level? Do you see a possibility to kind of collaborate with, state tourism boards where you all could do something?
With regard to the festival, let me start from there. The festival is, in a way, is for the converted. Let me, it is a reality. So all the 3,000 odd people who turn up there, they are somewhere connected with nature, wildlife, conservation, science, research. That's their background. Maybe say a 10 or 15% audience who are first time coming and experiencing it. Yeah, curious bit of it. But yeah, you can say that it is for the people who are converted. With regard to what Nature in Focus does, so the way me and Kalyan started off, we started this as a festival. The focus was more on a photography when we started way back in 2014. And it was actually called Nature in Focus Photography Festival. And today, the word photography has been dropped. It is a Nature in Focus Festival, which talks about everything. And we touch on research, science, conservation, activism, everything. We create a platform where people can come and share the work, what they have done, or what they intend to do it. We actually create a place where they can have a dialogue even with the government officials, which is to do with the forest department. We had heated discussions on the stage. So we do that part of it. Apart from that, we actually partner with a lot of non-profit organizations. Talk about NCF, talk about a project what we are doing right now as we talk. It's called One Katha. So there are folklores. There are so many folklores which are getting lost. Why they are getting lost? Because all these young generation is moving out from their natural habitats. And this idea came from WCS, and they said that why don't we look at documenting these folklores? I said, yeah, it's a brilliant idea. And then we started documenting. I think some 6 stories have gone live. So visual documentation, there's a proper story being done. And now we want to reach out to everybody saying that if you know any folklores which you want to document, please reach out, we will publish it. For whatever reasons, we have a pretty decent amount of following. I think now we are around 464,000 followers on Instagram. And we are creating that awareness because this kind of a documentation is required before it gets lost. It's a reality. A lot of places it is actually getting lost. We work with NCF, we work with WTI, WCT, we work with Earth Focus Foundation, we work with a lot of organizations. There are times the papers have been written which are obviously research paper. The language is very different. We also look at how those research paper can be simplified and be published on Nature in Focus platform. So the platform is open. We believe in collaboration. Our whole focus is that how do we reconnect people with nature? I'm saying reconnect. Yeah. Okay. There was a time when we were connected, and there is a disconnect now, and we want to connect. And this is the reason why we do what we do it. So it could happen through the photography, it could happen through the photo stays, it could happen through the films what we do. Like we worked with On the Edge Conservation, which is based in UK, and they had a focus on Western Ghats. They wanted us to come up with 8 different stories, which is completely on lesser known species. Not a known species, you will find it there. So that's the kind of work what we do.
Thank you. I think we are running out of time. Before I close, I'd just like to ask each of you to just talk about one organization or initiative in the nature tourism sector that you think is making significant strides and we should look up. Also, if there's any other point that you all would like to highlight before we close very quickly, that will be great.
I would start that. Okay, there are two projects I would want to mention. Instead of two, I take the liberty of RP not naming one. So, two very close to my heart, and I've been involved in them at some level. Bhavna's here, she's been managing them. One was the Bega Jewelry project, which we, did a transform this jewelry selling into a workshop project, and it was a very successful model. The other one is the whole Pardi model, which started with you, and I was the first lodge to hire a Pardi naturalist in Kana. So that was fantastic. That was a brilliant experience, and our guests loved it. So Bhavna's doing a great job with all of that, and now she's also involved with TOF. So I hope this continues and grows.
Last but not the least, you spoke about role models. So we tried to create anti-role models. One of our team member whom we supported from day one, she got Tenzing Norgay Award this year posthumously, Savita Kanswal. And we are doing an event called Ghasiari to commemorate her, existence with us. Now, we send her, she became second youngest in country to cover most of the, mountain peaks. I'll not get into the technicalities, but the bottom line is that we helped her to go there and come back and tell these local communities of Garhwal Hills that nothing is kept in mountaineering. Why you want to scale up Mount Everest? There is so much of, garbage and filth, kilometers of garbage and filth lying there, and it can't decompose, whatever stuff they, leave back. So using these anti-heroes. So for example, so I did 15,000 kilometers solo cycling across 8 states and went to 100 village panchayats, planted banyan tree, people tree. Why banyan people tree? That's a story for some other time. But appointed one green champion or Prakriti Prahari. Now that Prakriti Prahari is a village level ecopreneur, yet jobless. So why I'm sharing this with you guys, if somebody wants to, find about such human resource, that talent pool, I as an individual or my small tiny organization probably cannot support, but they are the right kind of talent to be nurtured, to be developed for future, where, they can, if they are given some kind of partnership in terms of rural tourism development or farm produce market linkage, they can turn out to be the heroes. Right now, the hero of that village is bootlegger, somebody who's into mining or poaching, okay, and buying new cars. So someone who is getting some kind of, media attention, international recognition, and, the village girl, Uttarakhand, I'll just share one story. Most of the local people in Garhwal are now getting Nepalese brides because local girls are not ready to marry someone who is living in a village. That's where the chain is broken. And that's where, you get leaders are coming from your bottom of the pyramid. But, to create a visionary leader at the bottom of the pyramid at this point, if you really want to kind of, safeguard the larger aspect, and tourism is a very tiny micro aspect, inbuilt into it. Thank you.
I will just sum it up. So I recently know, my friends, they started a naturalist school. This is Harsha Payal and Narayan and all these people. They are the guys who have been doing the naturalist job for a very, very long period of time, and now they are training the new breed, which is basically making sure that there is an opportunity to earn money. So that is something which they are working on it, which is excellent as far as I see. Same thing is that Earthfocus Foundation in Kana has been working on vocational training. End of the day, that's what is required. They need to have a source of income. That is something which is very much important. And they started experimenting with a couple of different things. That's been working very well. They are also working on the restoration of the barren lands. Same I have seen with NCF in Valparai. They have done an amazing job of restoring the rainforest. So I know it has not to do with tourism, but the projects which have really touched my heart are these projects. Thank you.
I think we'll wrap the session up. Thank you for your valuable insights. Thank you to the audience. I think, it's decided like the future of nature tourism is, is a journey in India, and it's a delicate one at that. Which requires a lot of, I think, commitment and a lot of, a lot of commitment and collaboration, like we discussed amongst all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
We really wanted all of you to network and, you know, have a chill time before we start the award ceremony, like 30 minutes, but sorry, we will give you 5 minutes.